free. If we look up into the night sky on a clear moonless night, we can see thousands of stars twinkling back at us. These stars are incredibly distant, but there are also stars much closer to home. So close that they're actually in our cosmic neighborhood. In fact, these stars are born in giant clouds of gas and dust, scattered throughout our galaxy. And these clouds are called nebulae. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at one of these stellar nurseries to find out what a nebula is, how it forms, how big they are, and how they help astronomers keep tabs on incoming comets. A nebula is a giant cloud of dust and gas drifting through space. Some nebulae are huge, spanning light years across, while others are relatively small. But despite their immense size, nebulae are still only visible with a telescope. The reason for this is that nebulae are not only incredibly far away from Earth, but also extremely tenuous. This means that, even though a nebula can be bigger than our solar system, it may only have a few dozen atoms per cubic meter. That's about 10 trillion times less dense than the air that we breathe. The reason that nebulae are so sparse is because they're mostly made up of hydrogen and helium, the two lightest elements in the universe. You see, after the Big Bang, the universe was a hot, dense soup of subatomic particles. As the universe expanded, it cooled, and these particles began to combine and form the first elements. Most of these were hydrogen and helium. And when the universe was around 380,000 years old, most of the hydrogen and helium had gathered together into giant clouds. Over billions of years, gravity caused these clouds to collapse in on themselves, eventually forming stars. And this process is still happening today. It's believed that almost all stars form within nebulae, and many nebulae contain multiple stars in various stages of formation. The center of a nebula can be very hot due to the presence of young, hot stars. And this heat causes the gas to glow, making the nebula visible. Most nebulae are about 1 light year across, which is about 6 trillion miles, or 9.4 trillion kilometers. This may sound huge, but it's actually pretty small, compared to some of the largest nebulae in the universe. For example, the Crab Nebula is about 11 light-years across, and the Boomerang Nebula is more than 240 light-years across. That's about as wide as 14 of the United States lined up side by side. Not all nebulae are created equal. They can vary greatly in size, shape, color, and composition, but astronomers often categorize them into a few general types. One of the most common types of nebulae is the emission nebula. An emission nebula is a cloud of ionized gas that emits light. These nebulae are typically large and bright, often covering vast areas of the night sky. A great example of an emission nebula is the Orion Nebula, which is located in the constellation Orion and is visible with the naked eye as a faint cloud. The Orion Nebula is about 1344 light-years away and is one of the closest star-forming regions to Earth. Emission nebulae are usually found in regions of active star formation, which is why they often contain young, hot stars. The intense heat from these stars causes the gas in the nebula to glow. In fact, the color of an emission nebula is often related to the temperature of the gas. Hotter gas glows redder, cooler gas glows bluer. Another type of nebula is the reflection nebula. Unlike an emission nebula, a reflection nebula does not emit its own light. Instead, it reflects the light of nearby stars. This means that a reflection nebula is often blue, since blue light is scattered more easily than red light. A good example of a reflection nebula is the Pleiades Nebula, which is found in the constellation Taurus and is visible with the naked eye as a faint, fuzzy patch of light. The Pleiades Nebula is about 440 light-years away and is famous for being home to the open star cluster known as the Seven Sisters. A third type of nebula is the dark nebula. A dark nebula is a cloud of dust so thick that it blocks the light of stars behind it. This makes a dark nebula appear dark against the backdrop of a brighter nebula. While dark nebulae are opaque at visible wavelengths, they often glow brightly in infrared light, allowing astronomers to see through the dust and study what's inside. Dark nebulae are often associated with star formation, since the dust can provide the raw material for new stars. One famous dark nebula is the Coalsack Nebula, which is located in the constellation Crux and is visible with the naked eye as a faint dark patch of about 1 degree across. The Coalsack Nebula is about 820 light-years away and is one of the largest dark nebulae in the southern hemisphere. Finally, there's a fourth type of nebula, the planetary nebula. Despite their name, planetary nebulae have nothing to do with planets. Instead, a planetary nebula is a cloud of gas and dust that surrounds a single star in the last stages of its life. When a star runs out of hydrogen fuel, it can collapse and form a white dwarf. Many white dwarfs have strong magnetic fields that blast electrons from their surface at high speed. These electrons collide with the surrounding gas, causing it to glow. Planetary nebulae are often very beautiful and colorful, making them popular targets for amateur astronomers. One famous planetary nebula is the Ring Nebula, which is located in the constellation Lyra and is visible with the naked eye as a faint ring. The Ring Nebula is about 2,300 light-years away and is one of the most studied planetary nebulae in the night sky. Although nebulae are beautiful to look at, they can also be dangerous. That's because nebulae are often home to comets, which are chunks of ice and dust that hurtle through space. Comets can be dangerous because they often collide with planets. In fact, it's believed that comets played a role in the extinction of the dinosaurs. But comets can also bring life to planets. For example, it's possible that comets brought water and other organic molecules to Earth, which may have helped kickstart life. One way that astronomers keep tabs on incoming comets is by studying nebulae. That's because comets often leave long tails behind them as they move through a nebula. And these tails can be seen in infrared light. By studying these tails, astronomers can learn more about the comet's composition and its trajectory. They can also use this information to predict where the comet will go next, which helps us know whether or not we need to worry about it. Nebulae are also important because they allow us to study the formation of stars and planets. That's because nebulae contain the raw materials that make stars and planets, dust and gas. By studying nebulae, astronomers can learn more about how these objects form and evolve over time. They can also use this information to compare our solar system to other systems and learn more about our place in the universe. Nebulae are a fascinating and important part of our universe. They are the birthplaces of stars and planets, and they also hold clues to the formation and evolution of our solar system. By studying nebulae, we can learn more about our place in the universe and the amazing processes that occur in space. So, next time you look up at the night sky, remember that those twinkling stars were once just like you and me, born in a cloud of dust and gas. And who knows? Maybe one day we'll find another solar system that's just like ours, with a family of planets orbiting a star born in a nebula. What do you think is the most exciting thing about nebulae? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.